You're listening to The Broken Meeple Show, a podcast that speaks passionately about board games for the benefit of those who play them. My name's Luke Hector, best known for the Broken Meeple YouTube channel, and I'm an everyday gamer just like you. And I'll be talking about reviews, top 10s, and just about anything that connects me to board games, as long as I have a tea or coffee in hand, that is. So grab a cup, relax, and enjoy. And remember, it's only a game. Hello everyone, this is Luke for another podcast episode. Happy New Year 2021. And granted, it's not been the best start to the year, has it? But like I say, this is a channel where you can escape from all that, hopefully. So that's all we'll say on the matter. But yeah, it's a whole new year. We see the back end of 2020. We hope things will improve. And of course, we're now into Q1 of the year. And as most people know from board games, quarter one is basically the dead zone. It's like nothing comes out. If anything comes out in quarter one, it's usually one game that's big. The rest will be like tiny ones, if that, and there won't be that many anyway. And even then, you're probably going to get the back end of 2020 for those like us who, for example, have not had every Essen release in the UK yet. We'll probably see some of those trickle into the quarter one 2021. But for the most part, you don't really see a great deal of activity in the first quarter. Now, that's good and bad. Bad because no new games, or no great new games that we don't know of. But good side because A, gives me more time to actually get on with other things. Two, it means I can kind of take I suppose this is a link to number one, it means I can take a little bit of a breather in terms of, I've got to get a million things played, which given that the UK has just gone into lockdown again recently, until Lord knows when, could be another month and a half yet, then yeah, the chance of getting multiplayer games played that aren't on Tabletop Simulator is kind of remote. So less games released, probably a good thing. It means I can catch up with reviews of games that I'm supposed to be doing from 2020. But also, it just means that I can do other content. You know, I can do more top 10s. I can do, special videos, and I'll get onto some of those in a minute. But yeah, I kind of like the idea of a quiet period. It just means that I haven't got to be like, oh my God, like rushing around like crazy. The latter half of 2020, latter half of any year is usually the period for that. I mean, Christmas, October, November, and December is just complete flat out with the blog. So it's just nice that I can kind of go, unfortunately, that's replaced by my day job because as a tax accountant, January is the worst part of the UK year. And we are overrun like crazy. I am likely to be putting in a bit of overtime on that. Hopefully that won't interfere with the blog too much. But yeah, I foresee myself a changed man after January. And I don't necessarily mean changed as if, I've had an epiphany and now I've suddenly grown a few extra character traits. No, I'll be changed in the fact that work would have traumatized me to the point where I will be hovering in the corner crying my eyes out to sleep every night. I don't know. That's a bit of chamomile tea is my company after I've just eaten my food and gone out for a run. So trying to do what exercise I can, but there's a flabby belly down there. I have gotten fat thanks to Christmas, although thanks to my mum mainly, bless her heart. But when I go home for Christmas, she basically is a bit like Hansel and Gretel. I mean, she's not a witch, but if you just imagine Hansel and Gretel's house being made of gingerbread, that's pretty much what my mum's pantry is like. Because sadly, no gingerbread. I love gingerbread. Gingerbread is like one of my favorite confectionaries, honestly. I mean, if you bake me some gingerbread, I'll be your friend for life. But she will always have crisps, chocolate raisins, candy, sweets, crisps, you name it, she's got it all loaded up. And every year I tell her to stop doing it, and she does it anyway. She goes, it's only once a year, it's Christmas, and we got the others coming around. So yeah, we can eat healthy. There are healthy, nice things I can have for Christmas, or maybe I can have a few crisps. I mean, we already have a calorific roast dinner. We already have Christmas pudding with all the trimmings. There's already ice cream. I love ice cream, but this time we have cheesecakes on top, trifles. Honestly, I mean, it's nice food. Don't get me wrong, but I'm fat. I'm a fat man. I'm getting fatter. I'm not exactly a looker as it is when it comes to the opposite sex. So it's like, having a belly the size of Manhattan or whatever is not going to do me any favors, even if we are in isolation and can't exactly meet anyone anyway. But, oh well. I got to do what I can. I'm on a HelloFresh thing this month because the last thing I want to worry about when I am doing overtime at work is what on earth am I going to cook tonight? Now I just literally grab a bag, cook it, nice and easy. So it was on discount. I thought, why not? It will make my life a little bit easier. I had beef teriyaki mince tonight, which was nice, tasty. I think I've had it before, but it's a bit too calorific for my tastes, being beef mince. But I did have some pretty healthy ones earlier in the week. I just got a trial and error, really. But yeah, so other than that, what's going on with the blog channel? Let's bring up that. So last couple of videos have mainly been just the two on that, but you would have noticed there was a format change that I've been doing. So the top 10 the top 10 games of 2019 was the last major one that I did at the end of last year, and that has been very popular. I mean, I gotta admit, I'm very happy with the response that got, because I didn't realize that everybody really liked those types of top 10s a lot. But I mean, that's 11,000 views since December 23rd. Now I know that's not particularly good growth compared to some channels out there, but I'll take that. If all my videos could get those kind of figures, I'd be loving it. I'd be absolutely ecstatic. But sadly, that doesn't tend to happen with them all. But since then, you will have noticed a format change with a lot of the stuff that I've been doing. So I can't play. Let's see. I might be able to. Let's see. Can I go through? And if I go, nope. Oh, do I want to go full screen? Probably not. There must be a way that I can play this in the. Well, I'll play it in the little bit here. That should be enough for you to just get a basic idea, and I'll just turn the volume down so that you can't hear it. So this is hopefully playing, I don't know, but basically I've changed the format from old videos. So I've got how do you pronounce it? I've got a shorter intro. We're talking about 8 seconds on the intro, so nothing particularly major there. And it's all just a case of sorry about the screen coming back there. I'm literally just doing that to test that the video works. So yep, it's working. But yeah, so the format is basically more B-roll footage mainly. It's still got the music in the background, and the intro is kept short. There is no longer me waffling saying, hello, my name is this, please subscribe, la la la. That's all saved till the end and in watermarks throughout the video. There is no longer a Zatu promo at the beginning of the video. That is now watermarks throughout the video and a reminder at the end, as I'm outroing the video. So now you don't have to wait a whole minute before I get into the content, which I know is basically a dead zone for YouTube. I did some research, I looked at my analytics, and it's just for every video, the attention rate will drop, and then it's supposed to plateau. For me, it dropped dramatically, and it sort of never recovered. So the idea is that the video should get going within about, I would say, within 20 seconds of starting the video, you get straight into the content, as opposed to a whole minute, and that's including the animated intro, which I still like doing. I know some people don't use an intro at all, but come on, you gotta have a little bit of professionalism. But mainly it's B-roll footage. So as you can see here, hopefully, I know it's a small screen in that, but maybe if I enlarge it a little bit, is that going to help? We shall see. I'll just come out of that briefly to show if that's going. Nope, that's probably not working as well as I would like, but let's zoom out a little bit. Okay, so the idea is that the B-roll footage is more I've got video footage of me playing the game, or at least showing off certain mechanics and components. I've got photos, and if the publishers have press kits, I make certain to get hold of them, because they include a ton of photo footage, which is very useful and high quality. Now, other than that, it's also got my usual clips. So the clips that I use for movies are still there, because I still like that as a comedy element. I think the vast majority of you like them, so I'm keeping them, and personally I just find them quite humorous as well. It sort of breaks up the monotony of someone just sitting there going, just talking at a video. But also, I'm not on view as much as before because of all the B-roll footage. Occasionally I'll appear, but you'll hear me talking over the B-roll footage, which means that you can see what I'm talking about. And it's not just me in front of a camera, because that gets boring when you watch that all the time. So this hopefully is a lot more entertaining for you. Now, on the last video, Arnak, I did have a problem with the focus. I'm so used to using manual focus on my camera, and I keep getting it wrong because the viewfinder lies to you. It's the lying machine, because it looks good on the viewfinder, but then when you blow it up to normal PC size, it completely blurs things out, and the depth of field, the bokeh effect, is always completely out of sync. So that is now changed since the Arnak one, which is still a good review. When I say good, I mean it got a good response. How many people? Like nearly 5,000 views, 130 comments. So that's including my responses. So we're talking 100 plus comments, 99.6% likes. So only one person disliked it, which is probably a troll or a bot or something. Since January the 4th. Not bad for less than a week. I'll take that kind of growth for less than a week. But the thing with that one is that I was a bit out of focus. So what I've now done, with some advice from some very kind commenters who are sort of video production people, they know what they're talking about, I now am using a camera on a different aperture setting. Something like, it used to be 1.8, now I think I've taken it down to 3.2, 2.8, something like that. Just lowered it down a bit, increase the ISO, because I was so paranoid about having noisy pictures. Apparently, that's not the case. You can have footage at ISO, 600 without any problems. So it's like, okay, fine. So I think I've put it at 640. I think I'm at 640. And I've used that to, or actually, have I gone down to 1.8 aperture? I might be at 1.8, but I might have just changed the depth of field. I don't know. I've done something with the settings. But the main thing you'll notice is that I have put autofocus on the camera, which means I'm never out of focus unless I go up close, up, like that, which I very rarely, if any, do. I think I've done it once, but other than that, I should be in focus. And hopefully I can work on getting the bokeh effect in the background to the setting I like, but that's a subtle tweak and that's my personal preference. At least I'll be in focus. So that was doing quite well, and that's done well for my recent edition, which I put on yesterday. How do I rate my board games? This was a video that... Cool, a bit of noise there. This was a video I put together where you can see I am facing the people. I'm back in the office room where I've got the other set of games because I just think that's a better backdrop. The other thing is that on here, if I put any camera on the table, it shakes because this is a slightly wonky Geekazon table, which is not the best thing to shout about their quality, I must admit. I mean, the table was good, but the screws and the attachments that went into the legs, I think were a bit lackluster. They don't seem to be very tight. So it does get a bit wonky and wobbly. The problem with that is that if you put any camera on the table, you get camera shake. I noticed it in my tabletop plays where you saw overhead, you could see the wobbling in camera. It happened on the Arnak review, and it's just a bit of a pain. So I'm back in there with the Ticket to Ride boxes as the backdrop, although I'm zoomed in closer at an angle, so I'm not quite as far back in the room. And that seems to be working quite well with the autofocus. So, I've had good responses, 1,500 views on this one, which I'm not expecting this one to be as popular because it's just an editorial video in a sense, but it still took me a lot of hours to edit this one. A lot of hours. So, share it out, give me some slack, please. I kind of need this one to justify the hours I put into it. But what this is a video where I talk about what my numerical rating system means. What does a 1 to 3 rating mean in this instance? What does a 6 mean? What does the seal of endorsement mean? What does the seal of a distinction mean? And, I give some examples of games where I wonder if it will show up here. Yeah, so some rating. I say a rating. I give some examples of games from my own history where I've rated them at this particular level. I do go and update my ratings every now and again on Board Game Geek. I'm probably due to do that soon, though. I think they're a little bit out of date. But, I do what I can. But this video hopefully will be informative to some of you. And I know a couple of people have questioned, they sort of watched it and thought that they were going to find out what I meant by how I review methodology-wise. I could do a separate video on that if you want, something like how do I review my board games? So obviously I play the games as much as I can, but I would go into more detail about the detail format, funny enough. So, would something like that be useful? I certainly wouldn't want to make it a high edit video. It would probably just be a thing on the side, but probably not something I would reserve for a podcast on its own. But yeah. 2 videos so far, and currently I am editing the Under Falling Skies review, so the Czech Game Editions video, that will be coming out this week. And I've also got a couple of things in the works. Alex from Board Game Co. has asked me to do some collaboration stuff with him, so we'll hopefully do something soon. I don't know what type of video, but we'll do something. He's from Board Game Co. Board Game Ramblings and I need to hurry up and arrange a time so we can do our top 10 games the other channels are on about. I will do that on StreamYard. I haven't purchased. I've found a theme that I can do for overlays and stuff, which will make it look a bit more professional than it has before, and that should hopefully do the job. I mean, it will be the first time I've done a multi-stream thing, so hopefully it'll work. But if that goes well, it will mark the beginning of me doing collaborations with other channels where I say, look, I'm doing a top 10 on this. Do you want to come on and talk about it? I'm going to review this game. Do you want to come on and talk about it? Do you want to come on and just talk about random stuff with the Q&As and that? So I'm hoping it will pave the way, but I need to get that initial video done first with the Board Game Ramblings crew, because that is priority. I really must get in touch with them and just really nail them down for a date. There we go. So yeah, that should be pretty sweet. The other thing though is that I'm doing a couple of videos for Portal. Portal has got, in fact, I better show this on a different site. Let's PortalCon. Has he got PortalCon thing? I need to see if I can find the press release for it, but I can't seem to find it. But I will get to a Portal website as I'm talking here. So basically, Portal Games do a convention every year, and I've normally I just closed it. What a moron! They do a convention every year, and essentially, I've gone to visit them a couple of times. I've gone to Poland. It's mainly for the Polish lot, but they do some cool stuff. And it's, like I say, they're a very nice gang. They're very nice people. All of them that work there. Ignacy is a lovely man, and so is his wife and daughter. And everybody's just lovely there. I love the Polish. But you know, he does this as a kind of mainly for the Polish. It's not really a worldwide thing, but he does do these streams. He does these little episodes, like keynote seminars and stuff, where he tells everybody and announces, this is what we got planned for the year. And I like that. It's kind of like an investor's call in a sense for a publisher. You know, I like the way that goes. But the last couple of years, it's had to be online because of COVID, which is a shame. When I was hoping things would have cleared up by now and I could have gone this year, but fingers crossed next year I'll see you in there. And fingers crossed this year will be good for Essen actually as well. But January the 23rd, he'll have some events. So he's got some keynote seminars. He's got Portal Games Informant, Twitch chats, premiere gameplay, streaming of Robinson Crusoe, the Book of Adventures, another... an upcoming Kickstarter, and Empires of the North Egyptian Kings. That's your excuse for getting past the North thing, is it? Oh well, but there's stuff like that, and you can get a ticket for that. So certainly, if you're interested in Portal Games, I say sign up and check out some of that content. But what are these two videos I got planned? Well, one I was going to do anyway. One Ignacy has asked me to do on email. Actually, he's very nice. He chats to me on email, but what he wants to do is that last year, Rolling Dice, I think, did a live reaction video to the keynote seminars. Half an hour, it's 30 minutes, and basically you watch it and you comment on it. And it's like, I've never done a reaction video before. I mean, I watch like Angry Joe trailer reaction videos and stuff like that, but I've never done one myself. But this would be interesting. If I can figure out how to get it to work with StreamYard, like, okay, so I can play video media from the internet, YouTube on StreamYard. If I can do that, if I can work it out, then I would be interested in doing that. So on the day, I will be ready. I think it will be Sunday 1 o'clock from my perspective, British Standard Time. It varies for other countries, but I might make that in fact, actually, wait a minute, it's the 10th today. So 17th, 23rd. Oh, is that 23rd? That's a Saturday, isn't it? That's not a Sunday. All right, it might be in addition to the podcast, or it might be a replacement for the podcast. Or maybe, actually, well, it's live, though. No, it's live. It'll have to be separate to the podcast. I'm talking rubbish. But I'm going to do it. I'll see if I can get it to work, and then I'll do it. I reckon that'll be good. So I'll react to what they're going to announce, what they're releasing, and give you my thoughts. That should be good. But that wasn't the original plan I had for it. What I'm thinking of doing is, or what I'm going to do, this is another thing, is that the first top 10 list of the year that I do, the proper top 10s like I did before, is going to be Portal games. Yep, top 10 Portal games. I can easily find 10 games. well, easy. Yeah, I can. I've only played. How many have I played? I don't know the number, but I can get a list of 10 Portal games that I can shout out and say, yeah, these are really, really good. Because I think the only major one I haven't played is Stronghold, because that's a complex 2-player game and it's not something I can get to the table easily. But I've done all the rest: Neuroshima Hex, Monolith Arena, everything you've heard me talk about in my top 100 and stuff like that. I could definitely do a top 10 list of Portal games and see how my thoughts are with them now, talk about why I like them, that kind of thing. And I was going to do it as a little present for them, just to say, look, I've done this, just to kind of honor them, really. Gnasty doesn't know, though, that I'm doing it, so we'll see. We'll see. If he's watching this video, then he knows. But I only said to him on an email that I'm doing another video as a teaser. I didn't say what I was doing, so it'll be interesting to see if he actually watches or listens to this podcast and, finds out. But, yeah, I'm going to do that video, and I'll probably release that might do it on the same day, to be honest, just time it for then, or maybe I'll do it a couple of days before. Yeah, probably a little bit before the event, because I need to obviously spread the footage out. Sorry, spread the releases out. Too much on the same day is not a good thing. So yeah, that's my plan for PortalCon. It's just a shame I can't be there, but like I say, wishing the Polish all the best, wishing Portal all the best. Look forward to seeing you lot soon, hopefully at Essen, if we can get life back to normal. So, on with the rest of that podcast. I want to do a couple of quick reviews for games that I've had over Christmas. And I want to just talk about some anticipated games for the future. Because some people do like top 10 anticipated games and that. And it's like, I don't really see the need to do a top 10 list for that sort of thing. Especially when you can easily get burnt out by stuff you hype up too much. Not to mention some stuff doesn't get released in a year. So it's just, it always ends up being a bit of a weird list. It's not one that I tend to do. But we'll get on to that later. First up, let's talk some reviews. So, 7 Wonders Duel. Love the game. 10 out of 10 game. Probably the best 2-player game in existence. Agora is the new expansion that we have for it. This is essentially a political expansion for 7 Wonders Duel, but you don't do any actual negotiation or anything like that. But basically, you have this new Senate board with a bunch of chambers inside it, and some senator cards and some conspiracy cards, as well as a few other little tokens and blah, blah, blah. But this is an expansion that you can play with both Pantheon or just the base game. It adds this new Senate board, and the idea is that the senator cards are now in the tableau, shall we say. They appear in the list of cards as they come out. I wonder if there's an example here of it in action. This just looks like components. Well, there's the Senate board you can see there on the left being utilized next to the main board. And then there's the thing there. And as you can see, some of the backings are gray. So they appear in there. And essentially what happens is that the senator cards have various different effects, but depending on what type of senator card you find, it's either an effect or it's a Senate action, which allows you to move these cubes, why is it always got to be cubes, around this Senate building here. Having the most influence in a particular area gives you some cool bonus, but if you can control the Senate throughout, it's an automatic victory, much like the science and military one. Other than that, you've also got some conspirator cards, which you prepare them by sort of putting them face down in front of you, and then you sort of trigger them, and they cause nasty effects or really powerful effects. The expansion itself is good. It's a good expansion, but there's a problem. A big problem. Well, a big question, shall we say, for this. As an expansion by itself, with the base game, it's pretty good. It adds a little extra level of complexity. It allows you to, do some cool combos with the Senate actions. It's another way to win the game. And it just adds a little bit more complexity to a game, which didn't really need much more complexity, to be honest. But like I say, if you want a bit more involved 7 Wonders Duel, then great, go for it. But there's a couple of issues I have. Firstly, those conspiracy cards can be quite swingy. There's about 16 of them, I think, in the deck, and there's people on Board Game Geek who have actually done a tier list for how good those cards are. There is a clear difference between the upper tier and the lower tier in terms of how powerful they are. I think one of them allows you to steal a wonder. That in itself is ridiculously powerful compared to some of the others that might give you like 2 red shields or something, or maybe nick a few coins. It's a little bit too imbalanced in that front, but as I say, they take time to prepare, so it's kind of counterbalanced by that. But yeah, wasn't a fan of just how random they could be. On top of that, here's the big problem. Why do we need this expansion? Well, I've already got Pantheon in my Seven Wonders Duel, and Pantheon was the expansion that came before. And this one was a lot better. This was a great expansion. I mean, almost 10 out of 10 for me. I think I've given it a 9 there. But this one, it introduced the... let's see. You've got the Pantheon board with God cards in that. And you basically get the followers tokens from the main tracks. I'm sorry, for the main display, the tableau, shall we say. And with these, you're able to get the service of the various gods, each with very cool effects. But what you can do is you can mess up the draft. Because normally it was, you take a turn, I take a turn, you take a turn. Pantheon allows you to mess that up by saying, instead of taking a turn on the draft, I'm going to use this god power, pay the money, and use it, and get its cool effect. But I don't take a card to do it. So I can make you take a card when I really don't want to take a card. And it's such a good way of doing it. And the god powers are different each game. You've got multiple for each color. You've got the wild one that I think is in every game, but you've got like 3 different green, 3 different red, 3 different yellow, 3 different blue, that sort of thing. And they'll price differently because depending when they come out, it's down to player decisions. It's a fantastic expansion. And with it, Science Victory became a little bit more powerful as well because of the fact that you can change the draft. Not that I had a problem winning with Science in the past anyway, but certainly it was not the easiest thing to auto-win. I usually find it harder to win with Military, to be perfectly honest, but yeah, with Pantheon, I feel that the free win conditions are nicely in sync. But the thing is, Pantheon and the base game is fantastic. It's my way to play Seven Wonders Duel. Why do I want Agora? Playing this with Pantheon included takes the game to a ridiculously fiddly and too complex level. It's just too much on the table. It's too much going on for what should be a good, streamlined, flowing, like 2-player thinky game. But there's just too much going on. You've got all the god stuff going on with the divinity tokens and that, and then you've got the Senate cubes, you've got those cards that are new in there, you've got the conspiracy stuff to prepare, and then everything from the base game. And then at that point, you've also got 4 different win conditions: points, science, military, and the Senate. On top, it's just too much. I don't want to play this with Agora and Pantheon in the same box, which then means I don't really want to play with Agora because I've got Pantheon. I think Pantheon is miles better than this expansion, hands down. There's no questions asked. So if I'm already going to use either base game only for new players or base game and Pantheon with experienced players, I'm never going to play this. It's a complete waste of an expansion, and I don't think it was even needed in the first place, because if people say, well, if I'm only going to get one expansion, what do I get? Pantheon, every time. I'm never going to tell someone that I recommend you get Agora over Pantheon. So why do we need Agora? When I heard about this expansion, I was a little bit hesitant about it from the get-go because I just didn't see the point. It feels like it's milking a cash cow with this expansion. I don't think they thought about how much more fiddly this was going to be. I think they just thought, oh, it's another expansion for a game that's selling like hotcakes and is hugely popular. Let's do it because people will buy it. And it's just, I'm sorry, but if I was, I don't want this. I don't want to keep this. Honestly, I don't. I'm never going to use it. I'm going to use Pantheon every single time. This expansion is of no use to me, so I'm going to get rid of it. But then, if somebody had told me like this was how it worked, I'd be hesitant to spend money on this anyway, knowing that it's barely going to get used. If you are playing Agora, Pantheon, and Seven Wonders Duel together, you are a die-hard, hardcore player of this game. Like, you are playing this endlessly online or with your spouse or something, and you are playing it constantly and constantly and constantly, and you want that. But sorry, I don't. It's too much. Seven Wonders Duel works well for me because it's a bit more of a streamlined affair, and it's just, no, I can't go with it. So overall, I think it's okay, but I just think it's kind of just a bit of a wasted effort. On its own, like taking Pantheon out of the situation, like it doesn't exist, I would probably give the Agora expansion well, I mean, the Senate actions are cool, but I do find them a bit swingy, and the win condition is cool. I mean, I would give it a 7. Give it a 7 out of 10. It's fine. It's good. I can recommend it as an expansion if you didn't like Pantheon, then give Agora a try. Maybe Pantheon wasn't for you. But, and certainly I would only recommend playing base game and one expansion, not both. But I would give it a 7 overall. It's a good expansion in its own right. I just don't see the reason it exists. And for that, I can't recommend it anymore. And I certainly wouldn't say get it over Pantheon, because Pantheon is like a 9, 10 out of 10 expansion. It's just that good. So please don't make any more expansions for this game. It doesn't need it. If you're going to do anything, just make a bigger box, I guess. Although, to be fair, I can fit everything in that box. And that's the other thing, yeah, storage. You're going to store this and Pantheon and base game 7 Wonders. You might have some trouble in that small box before. So there's another reason to possibly give it a miss. New York Zoo. This is the new Uwe Rosenberg game. Capstone Games and Furland is basically publishing this one. And have a guess what this is about. Just look at this cover. This is Uwe Rosenberg, and that's the cover. What do you think is going to be in this game? Did you guess polyominoes and animal breeding? You'd be right. You'd be right. Yes, because that's pretty much half of his games. Or most of them, in fact. And certainly he's on a bit of a trend with polyominoes. Now, I love polyomino games. I've got Barren Park, I've got Patchwork, and a couple of others in that. But seriously, can we just... Well, I'm not saying I don't want to see any more polyomino games, although I don't want them to go the way of Roll and Rights, which got ridiculous. But especially for Uwe Rosenberg, can you just do something else, please? You're just milking polyominoes. There are other mechanics you can do. You were doing good with worker placement farming games, although they're starting to get a bit repetitive now. I mean, Nooseford was a letdown for me. And Halato was a 6 out of 10 for me. It was fine, but it wasn't worth giving a seal. So I think that's kind of milked its time. So try something else. Try a new mechanic. But is New York Zoo any good? Well, New York Zoo has you building a little nature reserve with lots of cute little animals. You move around this track here at the top where the tiles are laid out, kind of a bit like how Patchwork lays them out, but not quite the same. And you've got spaces on this board, and you move this little token around up to 3 steps, and you take a tile or you do the action of get more animals. Pretty straightforward, and this is definitely a very simple rule set game with one slight fiddly aspect we'll get to later. But for the most part, it's basically just take the tiles and build up your little thing of animals there. 1 animal per space. Each one is a little enclosure, and you're trying to fill up the whole enclosure with animals so that it pops and scores, even though there's technically no score in this. It's a race game to fill up your entire board. But when you score, you get to take an attraction tile, a theme park ride, that kind of thing, and fill up more space. Like I say, there is no scoring in this game. It's basically fill up the spaces. Now, the game itself is fine. I mean, it's simple rules, with the exception of the animal breeding, which I think is a little bit fiddly. It's the classic, if you got at least 2 of an animal in an enclosure, therefore you get 1 more animal. But you kind of have this weird rule about oh, wait a minute, so if I gain animals, I can put I can put 1 from my little outhouse building here into there as a bonus one, and then if I breed, I breed on everything, but then I get a bonus breed, which can be any animal on a different tile. It just gets a little bit fiddly, but not too bad. But trust me, when I was playing this with the parents, it was a bit of a slog to try and get some of these rules down for them. A lot of the board gets wasted as well. I mean, there's this bit here, this Greenland here, which is nothing. It serves no purpose. Why is it there? You don't have a storage. You don't store animals other than the animals that are on your enclosures or in these 2 little outhouses. So this Greenland bit here is complete wasted space. There is nothing that goes there. There is no point to it. It's just there. So that's a bit of a weird thing. The iconography is not too difficult to understand, although these at the top of the board aren't exactly enough memory joggers for me. But the problem with this game is that it's good in the sense that as on its own, it's fine. You get to build up your little animals. There's no difference between any of the animals. They just breed at different times. You go around the board, when you pass a certain spot, those animals breed. That's the only difference between them. There's nothing special about a snow fox compared to a flamingo. But on top of that, it's just basically another polyomino game where you're filling up the spaces and the animals just allow you to fill them up quicker. That's pretty much their role. You can decide to get a bunch of animal pieces and fill up that way, or you can get a few small animal enclosures, get the animals, and get the attraction tiles and fill up that way. You've got a couple of ways to play it from a strategy perspective, but aside from that, there's not much else to this game, really. The boards are supposed to be balanced by player count here. You can see there's two buildings here for spare animals. Most boards get 3, but the player one gets 2, and the idea is that the rulebook says this balances out the advantage of going first. I'm sorry, but I don't think there's that much of a big advantage going first. I've yet to see a pattern where the first player has a continuous advantage with this, because it's not like you have much to choose from on your first turn, and yes, it's a race, but going first doesn't mean you'll be first in line to win it. So, but having one less building for spare animals is quite a detriment. The penalty for going first is a lot more than the advantage for going first. But on top of that, you've got a lot of pieces in the box. I mean, there's a lot of tiles, although they are a little bit on the flimsy side. These aren't exactly the best tiles. That little fold-out board is quite cool, and you get a ton of these wooden meeples for the various animals. So it's well produced up to a point. Certainly a lot of player boards, because you've got to have them tailored by player count as well as layout. Although the layout is like, oh, there's a little notch here, there's a tiny notch here. It's not exactly much of a massive difference. So variety is a little lacking. I also don't like the way that the tiles, as you can see here, are different shades of green to distinguish their size. I don't know about colorblind people, but do you have trouble seeing different shades of green? Because 2 of these shades here, you can see these are 4 separate shades of green. Darkest green is nice and clear. Brightest green is nice and clear. Those are pretty similar, those two, at least in my eyes. So, that can cause a bit of confusion when setting the game up. And you run out of these animals pretty frequently, so you have to use tokens on top. I mean, and it gets quite fiddly things around. I mean, look at this. He's barely got any animals there on the board. And yet you can see they're all over the shop. It's messy. You try filling up all these other little enclosures with the animals, and it's just an absolute nightmare to get your fingers in and go like this, trying to get it without knocking half your animals over. The game is, and it's got a solo mode, which is actually not too bad, actually. I think the solo mode is slightly better than the multiplayer, to be perfectly honest, but it's kind of like you have to finish your board before you go round twice. It's an interesting little puzzle, and it certainly is down to the wire at times. So I quite like that. But the game itself, as I say, is fine, but it's just the polyomino thing is nothing new. There's not a unique bone in this body here. You breed the animals, Caverna, Agricola, and all these other farming games we've seen this. Polyomino, fill up your board. We've seen this in every polyomino game to date, let alone Howie Rosenberg's polyomino games. And that's literally it. He's just taken 2 mechanics that he's used to death and shoved them together. That just doesn't work for me. I just feel like that's just not, like I say, it's good. I would probably give it, and my parents enjoyed this more than I did, actually. My parents took a while to get some of the rules, but they were keen to play it more, whereas I was kind of done after the first few plays. So, maybe it's a thing that I think families will enjoy more. Perhaps those who are new to games will enjoy this more, whereas someone like me who's played a lot of these games before is just not seeing anything particularly new here, therefore it's a bit of a downer. So that could be it. But for me, I mean, I'd probably just give this a 6. A 6 out of 10, personally. I don't think I would recommend this one over other polyomino games. I think Barren Park does a better job. I think Patchwork's a better game than this one. There's Isle of Cats is a bit more complicated than this one, but I still think that's better. There's a lot of polyomino games out there. I would just recommend them. Barren Park's easier than this one and quicker, because this isn't the shortest game in the world. It's about an hour at least. And there's more fiddly rules here, whereas Barren Park is done and dusted, taught, 45 minutes, you're done. Nice, quick game. It's still one of the kings of polyomino family games, in my opinion. But yeah, 6 out of 10 for this one. I think it's fine. If you want to try it, give it a try. I just can't see somebody going, New York Zoo is my pick of this genre over all the others, personally. I just don't think the animal aspect is enough to pull people in. Right, I'm running out of time because in a quarter of an hour I'm supposed to be playing Stellaris and I still need to edit and release this podcast. So I might be editing and releasing this a bit later tonight, but that's fine. I'll do it later. But let's get on with the final bit of this episode. What are we up to? We're up to 40 minutes. Yeah, so I don't want to spend too long on this, maybe 10 minutes tops. A bit more chamomile tea. So some anticipated games. I'm not doing a top 10. I'm just going to look through a BGG list here, as well as maybe a website that I know, as well as some of my backed Kickstarters. And I'm just going to comment briefly on some games I'm looking forward to in 2021 and which games I'm not looking forward to in 2021. So browsing down this list, it's like a geek list for anticipated games 2021. It's nominations. I think they basically do a little competition or something. So, you know, essentially they've done this before. I don't care about the competition. I mean, Geek Gold has no purpose, so what's the point of it? It's just a stupid currency. Who cares? Online currency is not a good thing. But they do at least have a bunch of games here. So scrolling down, eventually get to some. Frostpunk. I am definitely looking forward to this one. Yes, you know, a team split off from Awakened Realms. Maybe they will focus more on making the gameplay good as well as the theme. Well, like I say, Tainted Grail does good, and Effa Fields was a bit of a disappointment, but they made it too much of a grind. I'm thinking that because this isn't so much a giant campaign sprawling game, it will be more like this War of Mine. And that's the kind of theme that Frostpunk is. Wintry War of Mine, pretty much, if you've ever played the PC game of it. But I love the PC game. I don't play it much anymore because I've kind of completed it, and that's about it. I have no interest in playing it on harder difficulties because, I don't know, I don't like the games to be too punishing. I just like to go through the story and experience it a bit. Plus, time. But Frostpunk was really cool as a PC game. I think with some minis, the sort of cube tower generator, I think Frostpunk could be a fantastic game. But we'll see. I mean, I'm pretty certain I backed it. Yeah, I'm pretty certain I backed it. So we shall hope. I mean, this is just prototype stuff, 3D rendering, so there's nothing particularly sort of major here, but we're certainly hoping that it will have like the tiles, you lay them on, build your map, and then you have to make story decisions like, you know, do you put the children to work, do you leave them be, that kind of thing, you know, really gritty decisions. If this is like a sequel to like this War of Mine in terms of theme and feel, I'll be all over this one, all over it. Let's see, Meccano Arcana to Eternity, never heard of it. Frosthaven, I think I've heard of that one. Some indie game produced by some small publisher or something. I don't know. It's yeah, you know my feelings on Gloomhaven or something. I really don't care about Frosthaven. Just because you took the word gloom out and put frost in the front and made it all blue and white doesn't mean it's going to be much of a different game. But that's just me. I'm not exactly caring about that one. Return to the Dark Tower. No idea. I mean, most of these I've not heard of. I've not had a chance to really look forward to all these random games that are here. So some of you have probably seen stuff you recognize. I mean, here we go. Hero Quest. We're supposedly getting the reprint of that this year. I can't see Hero Quest working in 2021. I just can't. Hero Quest was a nostalgic pleasure from my childhood. Loved it as a kid. Wouldn't play it as an adult. I can't see a reworking working. I can't see it working. So I'm not looking forward to that one. Iberian Gauge. Well, considering I don't like... well, okay. Actually, let's be fair. Not played either of them. But let's just say I have no interest in Irish Gauge or... Is that what it's called? Or Ride the Rails. So I can't imagine another train game by this person is going to really sell it to me. Board game by Splotter. Well, you know what? I ain't going for that. Looks like half of this is kind of incomplete. I mean, 12th nomination is an 18xx game. Don't we have enough 18xx games? Seriously? There's so many of them out there, and they're all the same. What difference does it make? This isn't work. Oh, Role Player Adventures. Ah, good. Something I can get excited about. Well, ish. I kind of backed it as a passing thing. This is supposedly a kind of story-based game using the Role Player universe, even though that universe is kind of tacked on in areas. But I'm kind of interested to see how this will turn out. You know, they have put out some pretty good games using this universe before. You know, a good Roll and Ride, a good spin-off, and Role Player is still one of my top 100 games. But to be able to use characters from Role Player and this and vice versa, and being able to sort of go and do little story decisions with a map and treat it almost a bit like a kind of mini D&D RPG or something, I'm looking forward to this one. And it looks like I'll have a ton of content as well. So solo or in a group, I'm looking forward to this one. Should be pretty cool. Dominant Species Marine. No idea. I've played Dominant Species. Played it once. I thought it was okay. I thought mechanically it was fine. It's just way too long, mean, and punishing. And it looks like a dog's dinner. That's been regurgitated several times. Yeah, it's like Cones of Dunshire has better component quality. It's like, bleh, horrible looking. But the game itself was fine. I just think 3 to 4 hours is way too long for a game. There's a lot of AP potential in it, and it is very punishing. I mean, at times you can just get completely hosed and not recover from it. So, like I say, I can give it some credit. It's just not for me. I can't imagine a Marine is going to change my mind on it. 18, whatever. Last Light. I don't really know much about this one, except that it's Roy Canaday's game that he's involved with, so I might have to look this up in a bit more detail. Sorry, Roy, I just haven't had the time. God, this is some boring stuff here. I mean, Weather Machine. This is apparently one that is coming from Vital Lacerda, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, Vital Lacerda, Weather Machine. Well, I mean, On Mars was a great game. I mean, it was an 8 out of 10 for me. It might even go down to a 7 eventually, just because of how complicated the thing is. But, it's still good. It's on my shelf. But I'm looking for a game from Vital Lacerda that's going to be like Gallerist or Kanban, like 10 out of 10 game for me. And also, Kanban EV will release in the UK, hopefully in this month. So that'll be good. Oh, yeah, I definitely want a copy of that, actually. So, Weather Machine. I don't know much about this game at all, but artwork looks interesting. Kind of gives me a little indication of brass, which is not necessarily a good feeling I want, but looks interesting, looks pretty complicated like most of his games, but a steampunky style board game about weather machines and building them, I guess. It does say that you are companies, which slightly worries me. This is going to be like some slightly pasted theme economic game maybe, but last bit of drink. We shall see. Maybe it will be good. But it's Vital Lacerda, so that already has my interest. Let's put it that way. Carnegie, Dawnshade. There's a bunch of... Like I say, I could browse through all 23 pages of this and not find a ton that I recognise. So maybe my Kickstarter list might be a better idea in a minute. We'll try this one page very quick. Space Empires, don't really care. How is it? Furnace? I've heard rumors about what Furnace is. It doesn't ring a bell, though. There's a lot of historical theme games here, which I'm not as big a fan of. Black and White's 50th Anniversary Edition? What was that? Come on. It's got... Destinies. The new Lucky Duck Games one. That might be delayed a bit, but that should be interesting. I don't know much about that one either. I think I just backed it mainly because it was Lucky Duck Games, but... It should be interesting. I mean, it's changed a bit since I first looked at it, but Lucky Duck have been on a roll with a lot of their games lately, so I'll be interested to see how that turns out. Iridia, The Paths We Dare Tread. It's an interesting title, I'll give it that one. Namiji. I backed that one. I should be expecting that soon. It's kind of like a successor to Tokaido, so I'm hoping that will be a very nice family weight game that will just put me in a nice zen mood and just look very pretty in that. So yeah, that should be cool. Dirt Side, Neon Dawn, Atlantis Rising Monstrosities. I didn't back that in the end because personally I just don't think the game needs an expansion, but I'll probably buy it when it comes out and maybe get some Kickstarter. I mean, Kickstarter estimate is October 2021, so it'll probably release around Essen, which means I could probably buy the Kickstarter version at that point. We'll see. Alright, so I'm not getting as much from the BGG list as I thought, so let's try my Kickstarter. This is one more looking forward to. So, stuff that I've backed... So Time of Legends, Destinies, yes. Namji we've already had. That's just helping out a friend. Okay, so we've got Great Wall board game. This one I'm interested in, because again, it's Awakened Realms, but this is more of a condensed game, not a campaign game. And with this one, having a good solid theme, I've backed the miniatures version, and that was the other thing, actually, for the price. It was expensive. It wasn't that expensive. I mean, £90 for the Dragon Pledge, which gives you the miniature version of this game. And there's a lot of stuff in here. I mean, cool money or not, you could learn something from this, and Arcane Wonders for that respect. Yeah, I didn't back the Freedom 5 thing. You know why? Because the value went all over the shop. But look at this. I mean, you get a lot of stuff here for 90 Marin. I was really pleased with this. But the gameplay looked good from the Dice Tower playthrough, a worker placement game where you've got to not only do stuff within the city, but you've also got to defend it from an outside horde. So it's got an element of tower defenseness in a way. I mean, it should be good. And the theme of an ancient Chinese empire, would certainly, you know, I like Rising Sun with the Japanese feel, so I'll certainly take a Chinese version, different minis in that. But yeah, I mean, it looks very good. Looks like a lot of stuff. I am very interested in this one. Very interested. I don't think I went mad on the add-ons, because I think the add-ons went a little bit too much, and I'm not sure how desperate I was to get things like cooperative mode. I can't remember what, I think I only backed it for 90 quid. I can't remember if I went into a lot of the add-ons, but we'll see. Like I say, they've done a lot of stuff for that. Hell, the Last Saga. I don't know if that will release next year or not, but Mythic Games, Sam Healy has done a lot on this. This is the, shall we say, campaign-style gritty Norse mythology game. I look for, and a solo mode included. I'm expecting this to be kind of like an alternative to Tainted Grail, basically, for me. I like the Arthurian gritty legends in that one. I'm hoping this will be a nice dark Norse mythology style game with an interesting mechanic and a good story. And of course, some very nice artwork, based in that theme. So yeah, I'm interested in this. I've looked at some playthroughs. I was kind of ho-hum on them at first, so I'll hold my judgment until the whole thing's released, but lots of cool miniatures, lots of cool stuff, all the stretch goals, lots of things. I'm keen on it, but as I say, I don't tend to keep up with the developer diaries for these sort of things because it's just too much information. Things can change. You can get too hyped up over stuff. I just like to sort of go, this looks cool. I'll back it. And then later on, I find out, oh, I've got a parcel coming. Oh, this will be good. And I just like to think of it like another Christmas present come early. Nemesis Lockdown, we've got that one. That's going to be quite cool. I've already played Nemesis, and I do like Nemesis. I just think it was a bit long, a bit random at times, and also some people could just slow the game down like crazy. I mean, just seriously, just make a decision and make your move. This is not a Euro game. This is a thematic alien game. Just play it and have fun. And when you get people like that, it's a fantastic game. When you get people who treat it like a Euro game, no, it's a drag. This, though, allows me to, and I went a bit mad. I got paid by a side client, and I thought I'd treat myself. I was just going to get Nemesis Lockdown, and that was it. But I kind of got not screwed, but I backed everything. I went for the entire Nemesis collection. So, I mean, some of that was because they're going to tweak the solo mode in the game to work with an app and work with both things. And I thought, oh yes, really get the solo mode working. But there was just so much here. I mean, look at this stuff. Look at the shiny stuff. All these miniatures and cards and hexes and boards and aliens and people. I mean, I wanted the different aliens because they look so cool. I wanted the different characters because I like variety. I wanted all the cards. I wanted the... I'm not sure if I upgraded to the dual plastic tokens or not. I might have done on the basis that I went for the all-in. I don't know if I added those on. I can't recall. But, yeah, living fungus models. All this slot. Oh, look at that. Look at these miniatures. It does look cool. Maybe this is what I need to sort of perk me and make... Because Nemesis has never entered my top 100 because I've never owned the game. And like I say, there's that pro and con. But this version... could really sell it to me. I mean, I reckon this is the kick I need to try out better. Right, really running out of time, so let's go on to just a couple of services here. We've got a Vindication expansion. It's Vindication, of course I want it. Mr. Cabbagehead's Garden, never played it, but people keep talking about it. It's a great solo game, so we'll go with it. Western Legends, another expansion, why not? So the last two I'll talk about briefly before I wrap this up is Endless Winter. I know very little about this game. Do you know why I backed this? Because I didn't back Freedom 5. That was it. I literally decided not to back Freedom 5, and I thought, well, that was 150 odd quid that I'm not backing Freedom 5 with. What's ending soon? That looks pretty cool. This literally had a few hours left, and I thought, for the less money that I was going to pay for Freedom 5, there was a lot more value in this game. And it's by, I forget who the designer of this one is. Is it, who is it? Designed by Stev Kodonsky or something? I can't read it. Trying to remember, but it's... I wonder if it says. Takes place in North America. Here we go. Stan Kodonsky and development by Johnny Pack. Yeah, so, these designers, I don't know if Stan's done anything before, but Johnny Pack's done some pretty cool stuff. But it looks cool. I mean, this looks like an interesting mid-weight Euro game. And that's the thing. Mid-weight Euros can do that excellent blend of complexity and depth, which I really like. So they tend to be my favorite games. Solo mode, 50 to 90 minutes. Sounds like a good length for a game. I'm going to say 2 hours because they usually lie about this. But I think for 120 euros, there was a lot of stuff in this game. I mean, some expansion content, a playmat, all the deluxe bits, lots of cool little pieces in that, and the theme sounded cool. The artwork's really cool. It kind of looks a bit like the Garphill Games stuff. It intrigued me enough to go grab it. This is literally a whim. This is a complete gamble, so don't let me down. And then finally, Perseverance Castaway Chronicles. I have played the second chapter of this, where you are going out into the wasteland and, well, into the forest areas and encountering some dinosaurs and finding relics in that. Episode 2, whatever it is. I have played episode 2 and I enjoyed it quite a bit. I thought it was pretty cool, but I need to sort of play it a bit more. I even tried episode 1. I don't know how I feel about having 2 games, but I mean, it was for $135 plus shipping. I don't think I got any add-ons because I think you got enough stuff in the deluxe edition, but you got 2 games for the present. I mean, you basically played retail price for 2 epic size Euro games, and you were getting Kickstarter versions effectively, so I thought it was pretty good value. Hopefully episode 1 is a fun game as well as episode 2, but we'll see. However, you know, David Turksey did Anachrony, the designers of Anachrony, Tricarion, and Yido. I've not played Yido, but the other 2 are on my shelf. Right behind me is there, and I've got the Anachrony Fractures of Time Infinity box downstairs to unwrap. That should be pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, I've got faith in this team, faith in this publisher. I mean, this is Mindclash Games. Mindclash Games have not released a bad game. Now, technically, they did release that little card game spin-off of Cerebria, but even that is not too bad a card game. I think I'd give it a 7. I think it's a half-decent card game, just not one I kept. But ignoring that little spin-off, because it was a side thing, all their big Euros, fantastic. They're all 10 out of 10s for me, or at least 9s. You know, they are fantastic games. They've not put a foot wrong when it comes to epic Euros. Hopefully, they won't here either. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to theme, interesting themes and settings with complex Euro mechanics, these are the top people I go to for a complex Euro, hands down. So yeah, quite a lot there, quite a lot coming up. So that's it. I better wrap this up because people are going to be wondering where I am for Stellaris. But thank you for joining me on this podcast, everybody. You know, nearly an hour long. So I guess if you've missed me over Christmas when I was taking a break, then here you go. But yeah, there's some games I'm looking forward to in 2021. I just hope that 2021 is a nicer year for everybody. You know, UK, US, Europe, the lot. You know, we got to deal with isolation and Brexit and all sorts of stuff, but then the US has got its own troubles as well. So, you know, I just hope that eventually we can just get the world under control and, you know, just remember to be good to each other again. You know, thankfully board gamers are usually good to each other, so, you know, the nice ones. And I just look forward to things getting back to normal where I can see some of you fantastic people at a convention and say hi, give you a hug. Actually give you a hug. I haven't given someone other than my parents a hug in ages. And probably even when we are vaccinated against COVID and that, we probably won't stand a chance of being able to do hugs. But just to be able to see you in person and chat to you and play some games. I mean, please have this sorted by September. Please, 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 please. I can live without the Games Expo and AirCon. I would like things to be at a point where AirCon and Games Expo could go ahead, but, you know, fingers crossed. But Essen and Midgard, September and October, come on. If we can't get this under control in 9 months, given that this all started February, March last year, so a year and a half, if we can't get this under control in a year and a half, I'll lose all faith in humanity. But just get it ready so we can travel there. I want to go to Essen. I want to go back to Germany and walk around a convention and see all you people and all the creators and content creators that I love. But then I also want to go to Midgard because they've invited me back there as a guest. Well, back there, I've never been, but they've invited me there as a guest. But Iceland is like the top country I want to visit. I love that kind of scenery, just like the Norwegian fjords. The convention sounds great. Hilmar, who runs it, is a lovely bloke. I've played games on TTS with him at GridCon and that. You know, he's one of my followers on the YouTube channel. Such a nice bloke. But the convention sounds great and it's Iceland. I want to go to Iceland. Just please, come on. Please have things sorted by September. Please, please, please. That is my wish for 2021. Anyway, I better get on. People are probably wondering where I've got to so we can go kill space aliens and stuff. But take care. Just be nice to each other. Hope you enjoy the content. Let me know feedback on, you know, what you want to hear in the podcast later this year, but also let me have your feedback as to how you like the new format changes for the channel. You know, not necessarily for just the first video, the Arnak one. Watch the second one as well, and watch the Under Falling Skies video that I do, and let me know your thoughts on format and stuff like that, because they take me a long time to edit, So if they're going to stick, they need to be positively received. But yeah, take care, see you all, and remember, as always, it's only a game. Take care, stay safe.